All right. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the October 15th, 2024 iteration of the Kubernetes SIG-Windows community meeting. As always, these meetings are recorded and uploaded to YouTube, so be sure to adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct. For anybody that's new here, that pretty much boils down to just be a good person. Let's get started. All right, so first up, announcements. I think we passed enhancement freeze last week. So the next milestone is code freeze, and it looks like that's November 8th this year. How many? That's a little over 3 weeks of time to do the coding. I know we've got two enhancements that are tracked now, so awesome job, James and Yuan Mang, for working on those and getting those in. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to announce? Yep. Okay. All right. Next, we give a little bit of space if there's any new contributors that want to introduce themselves. I don't see anybody new on the call, but I'll still pause if anybody wants to say hi. All right. Let's go into our agenda items. Test pass flakes. Let's see. I mean, do you have any updates on this, or do you want me to go?
I think we were talking about the flake, right?
Yeah, I think we were like, especially was it the OIDC one that we tried just moving the test pass over to Windows Server 2022? Do we know, did that solve it?
No, that did not solve the flake. It's still failing the same issue trying to connect through the load balancer, I think, and it times out.
Oh, I think there was two issues, right? There was one where it was trying to dial the load balancer, and one was for starting the individual containers. Or there was like a network hiccup occasionally. I think the one where we're trying to dial the load balancers. Where's do we have? We talked about these before. When did we talk about these before?
Here we go on October 1. Is this first
Oh,
on
okay.
yeah.
Okay. Um, this is this the one that you're talking about?
Yes, this is still happening.
Okay,
That
yeah, I don't think this one I would expect to get solved by switching to 2019. I was we can talk, how about this one? Did this one get resolved?
No, I think we didn't change the retry. We were talking about moving these to 3 retries instead of 2 and try to decrease the amount of flake, but we didn't touch that.
I thought we also tried making the CapZ Windows Master go to 2022 also to see if that fixed or
On this one,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, because we switched this, I think we did switch this to Master, right? Or to 2022.
yes, okay.
Yes.
I was looking in the wrong place. So since it fixed it, so
Yeah, so I'm guessing these are all of those issues trying to dial the load balancer, and I this is an infrastructure issue that I think we still need to work out. Just in Azure. Is that right, James?
Yeah, I haven't looked at it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just like we just believe this is like an issue just with Azure and CapZ, right? In
there is
my
a
experience, like
Yeah,
if the cluster comes up, we usually get a good test signal, but this is an issue with provisioning the cluster. Oh, sorry, what were we gonna say?
there is a third issue where it gets a zone, I think, without resource. I think I pinged there. So this is round robin in the overall failure that we're seeing. So there are two issues going on with that.
Wait, this one or a different one?
That is a different one.
Yeah. It looks like this one's probably new after Patch Tuesday, right? Which was,
The SKU is not available.
oh yeah, that's a capacity issue thing in Azure. Um, James, do you know if any of the CabZ folks are looking at that, trying to resolve it, or are they just hoping that randomizing the issues and picking different regions and is going to fix, like, help just resolve that?
Yeah, I haven't checked in with them in a while.
Okay. All right. That's just that's more of an infrastructure issue. I mean, I think we've been seeing a lot of like just resource contention in different Azure regions. So I know that there's some logic to try and like we have a list of like 7 or 8 regions now that we randomly pick, and I think some of them are more likely to hit a capacity issue. Um, we should try and follow up on that. Yeah. And I did notice too that for against Master, we used to have we have 2 test passes. We have CabZ Windows Master and CabZ Windows 2022 Master. And that was because we had the Windows CabZ Master was targeting Windows Server 2019, but we switched that over to 2022. So I'm wondering, do we think it's time to just stop testing 2019 on against Master and then moving forward? I think we're nearing the end of the basic service period with that, and 2022 seems pretty stable. Do you have any thoughts on that, James or Arvind? I think running less test passes could also help with the capacity issue, especially
Yeah.
the periodic jobs that we run on master. So
Yes, definitely. And then we actually, the patch Tuesday broke installing SSH on 2019 in image builder. And I kind of proposed maybe the same thing, is that end of life was actually in January, and I think security patches end next month. And then it's just extended life support only. So it may not be worth our time to figure out, to support something that you can only get support through paid channels.
yeah, and I believe even with the extended support, a lot of like the bar for bug fixes is much higher. So I believe it's mainly restricted to like security features only. So if there are other issues that come up, they're going to be backported to 2022, but probably not 2019. So
Yeah, I tend to agree that, we should focus on 2022 and 2019 as, sort of, but I have to play devil's advocate. Would you think that there will be scenarios where there is pressure to get a fix into 2019 for Kubernetes specifically? Because there's some like customer who's hyping for the extended support, right, for 2019. Would companies run into that kind of scenario where there's a customer who's paid a bunch of money for 2019 extended support, there's a bug in Kubernetes, and now there's pressure on us now to go and fix it because we're getting indirect pressure to handle that kind of scenario?
I guess that could come up, but I think Microsoft is pretty aggressive at not pretty aggressive, but like once it's out of especially out of the basic security support, trying to push people to 2022. I do think that there's there's a lot of improvements in 2022 that it would be worth pushing people towards anyway. And I'm not aware of a ton of issues why, like reasons or like functionality why things wouldn't work on 2022 unless it's just like certification for whatever systems they have running on 2019.
Yeah, it's these corner cases, right, where they have some legacy app that somehow doesn't work on 2022. They keep plugging away at 2019. But I agree with you. Given the amount of resources that we have, we should just focus on 2022 and then maybe bite the bullet. And if someone comes with us with a critical thing that is needed for 2019, maybe it'll never happen, right? So I think we should be fine.
Yeah, I think we can. We'll still keep all of the release branch jobs that we have. So 20 or 128, 129, 130. If those, I think any of the test passes that we have for that are running 2019, we should keep. But this way, moving forward, like once we cut the 131 or yeah, the 132 release, we'll kind of phase out support for 2019 that way.
Yeah, we should probably update our docs regarding that. I don't think we've been explicit whether or not we support past the like the generally available supported for like time range for Windows 2019. Like we haven't really specified that in the docs, so we should probably come up with some sort of idea there and put it in the docs, and then as well as drop 2019 in the upcoming doc changes.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I do believe in a lot of cases we did say like the minimum, well, maybe not a lot of cases, but in at least one place on the Kubernetes.io website, we say that the minimum supported version is 2019. We should update that and try and figure out how to say like just the wording for that too, because we're not saying it's not going to work, but I think we're going to say something like, supported with test passes. The minimum version is 2022. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we can look into what they do with like Linux distributions as well, how they word that. Okay. I think last week I think Claudio brought up the topic of updating some of the EDE tests for to verify that we have the file permissions support. And I think we decided that we were going to update or discuss that after enhancements freeze, and it's enhancements freeze now. So if folks have anything else they want to discuss or bring up, I think we can bring that up now. Otherwise, we can look into the file permissions work a little bit. What do people say?
So Mark, you had mentioned the enhancements. Are you saying that like did they all merge? Sorry, I didn't keep track
Yeah,
that much.
the two the James's CPU and memory affinity did merge, and also the Windows node shutdown kept
Oh,
merged.
excellent. Okay, cool.
Actually, James, you want to give a couple of updates with what is different after some discussions with the enhancements, or with the enhancement review for the CPU memory affinity? Maybe just to update folks here.
Yes, so the CPU side of things changed, stayed all the same. From a memory perspective, I think I briefly mentioned this last week, but the semantics of the static memory policy wasn't something that Windows could match, because there's no API to say use only this NUMA node and this NUMA node only, and that was kind of the semantically guaranteed part of the static policy. And so the agreement that we reached was that we would have like a best effort policy, and that best effort policy, after a little bit of discussion, will only be on Windows. Maybe like somebody might be able to, or may want to support that on Linux. I don't really see a strong reason for it, but it's potential that somebody might want to kind of enable it for Linux, but initially will only be supported on Windows. And it'll essentially do similar things. It's just that semantically it's saying we are going to do a best effort here. So the way that'll work is we'll select the NUMA node, we'll keep track of how much memory has been allocated per NUMA node, and then we will assign the CPU affinity that matches that NUMA node, and then the Windows scheduler will manage that for us. The scheduler is designed to support the NUMA node that's closest by default, or like the CPU that the NUMA node is associated with. And so we'll get that, assuming that we've kind of carved off and said, hey, these guaranteed pods have this much memory, then we will be doing that most of the time, our best effort here for those. So that's kind of where we're at with that side of things. So the next steps are to get the CRI changes merged. Once the CRI changes are merged, we can get containerd and a few of the other lower level runtime things, PRs merged. There's 2 or 3 that need to get merged. And then we have I was gonna split out that memory in the memory manager and the CPU manager into 2 separate PRs. Get the CPU manager, which is pretty much already done, merged, and then work on that memory manager side of things. All the containers from the same pod land on the same NUMA node. Well, yeah, so there's that if you use the topology manager, you can choose whether you do this at a pod level or a pod scope or a container scope. And so you can, so the manager and the topology manager will make that decision for you. So it's something that you get to choose from the settings. Good question.
Yeah, I think that'll be nice. I think it'll be, yeah, important step is getting the CRI changes in, since I think that's really going to help, or like gate when the feature can progress past alpha. Do all that. So does anybody have any other questions about this KEP? Thanks for the updates, James. And then for the node shutdown manager, the KEP author isn't here. There wasn't that many changes from in the KEP that went for having the KEP merge for alpha. I think most of the work was just iterating on some on just the descriptions in the KEP and then the PRR review. And thanks for the reviews with that, Arvind, too. Okay, I think we can discuss a little bit about the file permissions testing here. I see Claudio's here too. I think so. In the last release, there were some changes that merged that we had been like discussing in SIG-Windows for a while about better setting file permissions for folders that the kubelet creates, because the OSGo package doesn't, or going package doesn't really do that. So now we have the ability to do that, but we don't have a ton of, I think there's 2 kind of open issues. One is we don't have end-to-end testing for that, and the second issue is the kubelet is still not assigning permissions for volume mounts that are created for the pods. And so I think we can discuss some of both of those. Let me try and pull this up. Yeah. Did you have anything specific you want to discuss about this, Claudio, or just when this came up last week?
I don't have any results at this point. I did reopen an old request which I had, which would enable a few other conformance tests for Windows as well, basically removing the Linux only tag. But I didn't really get results back on that yet. Plus, there are quite a few other things which changed since then. So still requires a bit of work when it comes to the pull request itself. But looking at the changes which I previously made for volumes, I did have a few other changes which were proposed but never merged based on the fact that, ACLs would be set on volumes and files and so on, instead of the regular ch mod, which historically was only setting only for the root level permissions, basically for administrator, nothing else. So until I have results on the tests which are currently running, nothing really much else to add. We'll also try to tie the other change which I had to the ACL changes which have merged in the last cycle, but I'm not exactly sure how it's gonna mesh together basically. But there were also a couple of unit tests which were relating to file permissions, which is going to be a bit easier to test, I think. So basically, a few things which I could check, basically. Plus, some time ago, I did send some updates to the Golang library, which adds those ACLs to the
Yeah.
SysWindows module. I think that got merged since then, so we may be able to refactor a few other things regarding ACLs on the next Golang update on Kubernetes.
Do
Maybe.
you know if those are in 123 or if they merged in if they merged after 123 was released?
When was 123 released?
Within the past probably 3 to 4 months.
I'd have to check.
Okay, we
It
can.
might be, but not. I wouldn't bet on it. I'd have to check, get it on that. Don't have it on hand since my previous laptop basically bricked, so I don't have the credentials to log in right now.
Okay. Okay, this is what I was looking for. So I think in order to for more of the EDE testing, we do have a Mount Utils test in the Agpost. I'm guessing you added this, Claudio.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, it's been a long time ago. And we're basically using PowerShell utils to fetch those ACLs, which was a bit easier to do rather than doing it in Golang. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So this calls out to a PowerShell and it returns the same like file mode and potentially file owner and stuff that for a directory of file, correct? I did see a bunch of places in the like in the EDE tests that do mention like, and especially for some of these conformance tests, that say this test is marked Linux only since Windows does not support setting specific file permissions or so some of these cases may still be true, like we don't support running as a specific like user ID or group ID or memory, but I think there's some work to do to reevaluate this, especially where we say Windows does not support setting specific file permissions because it does now.
Right, but when it comes to UIDs, I think during the last meeting we also argued that, running as a different UID would basically correlate to running to a different user instead. So technically, the container images right now, let's say they're being run as a container administrator, aka root, you could say. Alternatively, non-root would be container user when it comes to permissions. We may be able to, adapt tests to handle the specific scenario and cover multiple cases, but it may be argued a bit. One thing which I'm not exactly sure we'll be able to do anything about, I'm not sure about medium equals memory.
Yeah.
Not sure what types of MTDR volumes we support, what kind of mediums.
I don't think we support empty dir in memory on Windows, but we will need to check on that. Yeah, I did see also, like, in addition to this, I know that I can't find it right now, but there are some helper libraries or some helper functions in the test EDE package, and those also just assume that Windows it says like if we're querying for the Windows volume permissions for Windows volume, I want to say I thought I saw that it queries the file mode, but then ignores it and just says Windows is expected to be everything's expected to be 777. So we'll need to look at that and everything too.
Yeah, might be a few cases like that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
All right, I think, or go ahead. I was going to say we're almost at the end of time, so we can keep discussing this in the next couple of meetings too.
Yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say that there are quite a few tests which will have to be, looked into, somewhere between 10 or 20 tests or so, because there's so many scenarios and so many volume types, basically. But yeah, that's all on my side.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think we can continue that. I need to drop as well. So I think that was a good time to end the meeting, but we'll continue to bring this up in the next week or two. So, all right. Thanks all.
See ya.
See you around. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.